Kezi Mahaba. I learned to say Grenadian too, but I see the time has just ticked by morning. My name is Digby WHYTE. I was the first CEO of World Urban Parks, and I would like to introduce my colleagues as we go. Emanuel TRUEB was the first chair of World Urban Parks. You know Tim GEYER, he is the current chair of World Urban Parks, and of course ROMAHN is the current chief executive. And here we are celebrating 10 years of World Urban Parks, and it was quite by coincidence that the four of us came together and we thought, this is a great opportunity, we should not miss it, to have a conversation with you about where did World Urban Parks come from and where is it going, and maybe you have some ideas for that too. So I just have some simple questions. This is not very scripted because World Urban Parks began with one of the main organisations, the International Federation of Park and Recreation Administration, and that organisation decided it needed to evolve. And so my first question to Emanuel, because I think it's also important that Emanuel and I were also the last president and CEO of that international federation. You could say that World Urban Parks began a little bit before it did formally. The question I have for Emanuel is, Emanuel, what did you think were the pros and cons, the advantages and disadvantages that IFPRA, the Federation, saw itself in 2013, that it decided it needed to review itself?
First of all, I would like to say hello to everybody.
I have, yeah.
Headset, okay. Perfect. So, for decades, IFPRA was very important and relevant for many countries and many organizations, mainly in the Anglo-Saxon context. And when I was president, I recognized that IFPRA is losing members and it's losing relevance. And we were asking ourselves what could be the reason for that. And we saw that we had no contact to bodies in South America, not to the United States, not very much to the Africas. And so we asked ourselves that we should change the organization, that could be no longer the way it was. So it was a question of relevance at the end.
Thank you, Emanuel. I would just outline that when IFPRA decided to review itself, it asked another international organisation made up of recreation and park associations, national recreation and park associations, to conduct that review. You could say some critical friends, and they did an agency peer review to examine all the good aspects of the Federation and where it needed to go, and came up with a blueprint for that. And really, there were quite substantial changes because the Federation was a 50-year-old organisation. It had resulted from people coming together in a conference like this in England at the invitation of the United Kingdom Parks Institute. And it had evolved a little bit like a world body. But in fact, it was a kind of club. So the new organisation, World Urban Parks, that we decided to create, became incorporated. The World Commission, which was the governing body, became more like a business board, but with a lot of members so that there could be good participation from national associations and large organisations as well as individuals. We added the national associations of recreation and parks from around the world to be major board members. That had not been a previous focus. We went from having meetings on site where you could see each other and a paper magazine to add a lot more web-based and virtual meetings. And what that did was it made the organisation much more accessible to people throughout an organisation or throughout the membership of national associations, because now they could see their colleagues online and take part in team meetings. Those meetings, we added a lot to do with advocacy. We created a new academy to certify professionals and recognise their credentials in partnership with Indiana University in the United States. We created a whole series of awards, and you'll see awards later this afternoon, and created a lot more alliances and partnerships. So really there was quite some change. There was another major world body called Parks for Life, which was made up largely of these national associations, and they decided that they were going to come together with the Federation and create this new contemporary organisation called World Urban Parks. And I have one more question for Emanuel, because we had to convince everybody to become part of this new organisation, to convince that membership of the Federation. Emanuel, how did the transition go with the members?
Well, first of all, we had to communicate a lot. We had to convince that the members that we should make that change, and that took us more or less a year, I would say, or even more. And we were focused on a general assembly where we could ask the assembly whether they want this change or not. And my work was to convince everybody that that would be the right way, so that at the end, on that last General Assembly of IFPRA, a large majority voted on that change process. So that was the start and the beginning of World Urban Parks.
And that vote was over 95%. There was a task force created to make the change between those two world organisations. There were reference groups where people who wanted to be involved and understand what the new blueprint would look like could give feedback on it and send it in the right direction. So by being inclusive of everybody, we were able to have that smooth transition. Now what we're going to do is move forward a little bit through World Urban Parks and its life, and of course the big major impact of COVID that impacted many organisations. Tim has been on the journey through all those 10 years, and so I'm going to ask Tim GEYER, as we look forward to World Urban Parks changing its positions and services, I'd like Tim to consider the park sector, how it has evolved during COVID, and how the park sector has evolved up to date. How did World Urban Parks and the park sector transition from COVID to where we are now, Tim?
Yeah, so COVID obviously disrupted everybody's life right across the world. We all know that. But out of that adversity, there came opportunities. We learnt an awful lot about our own sector. And some of it we probably knew, but it was good for the world to see. So when people were in COVID, they had they had limited time when they could go out and exercise, get out in green spaces. Some people couldn't go out, their parks were closed. I was very fortunate my community kept its parks open the whole time. But what we learnt was that parks they are absolutely critical infrastructure. And we've heard that this whole symposium, they're critical infrastructure. But prior to COVID, trying to convince government that that was the case was a little difficult. It was more or less just that add-on community sports and so forth like that. But it's not. It's much more than that. And so COVID taught us a great deal about how we should look at our green space, and that helped World Urban Parks evolve. Along with that, also, because we couldn't come together in symposiums like this, we had 2 years of online conferences, and we learned a lot through that. We realised that even before and after COVID, young people can't afford to travel in the same way I can, for example, so they couldn't actually get to. And there was this demand for hybrid conferences, for webinars, for symposiums to be actually live streamed so that people, our junior staff, could actually watch it online and participate and throw questions out. So that's again another part of how World Urban Parks think, well, we need to look at how we do that. And so it changed our thinking as an organisation to be more dynamic, to be more inclusive and accessible to communities right across the world, and how we look at our parks and how we promote our parks as critical health infrastructure.
Excellent, thank you, Tim. The original mission of World Urban Parks may not or may have changed. I'm going to ask Luis about that in a minute, but we wanted a world where people would value and have easy access to quality urban parks, open space and recreation. And you just heard Mark Bowater talk a fair bit about what that access should look like. At the same time, the membership of World Urban Parks, I think we had some slogans around how world parks leaders grow here. So why would you become a member to understand beyond the national and regional understanding as to how the world parks industry was progressing and what we can learn from each other and what we can create together. But my question for you, Luis, is bringing us right up to date now and looking a little in the future. As we look forward, is World Urban Parks changing its position and services to meet the future of the parks globally?
Well, first of all, I guess the main question for us is why we want to do this, right? And I guess the main thing is thinking about our planet has more than almost 200 countries and more than 100,000 cities, so it's a big planet. And Urban Parks has a representation right now, maybe 1/8 or that market, so maybe 30, 35 countries. So we still have a lot of things to do. And I guess since the very beginning, IFPRA was focused, and I cannot imagine how difficult it was at that moment to get together in 57, I guess, when everything started, more than 800 people in England to talk about parks without, fax or email or whatever, just a telephone or regular mail, right? Letters. And after almost 60 years, we're still here talking about parks, but we need to change the way that we approach the business because, and I'm going to say it's a business because if our mission is to have better parks that can serve our communities, we need education, we need training, we need networking, and in order to do that, we need to get together all, Spain, China, Argentina, any country, and because we need to learn from each other, and it's the more intelligent way to really advance. So I guess Urban Parks is changing the way that we approach the market, trying to focus more in those countries and population that need us the most. And without, I guess, forget that also the more advanced countries like Australia, New Zealand, United States, United Kingdom, Canada, whatever, they also have a lot of things to learn from other countries that are doing a good job in terms of parks. But again, it's everything about creating a community. And with that, we need to understand that there's a lack of knowledge, a lack of networking, and a lack of commitment from the many stakeholders in our industry, politicians, universities, urban equipment suppliers. The whole infrastructure is, I guess, in the same thing. And urban parks plays a critical role to be that entity that can get all these stakeholders together. So I guess the invitation is, first of all, to participate, because those gentlemen that are here are part of the old guard of the urban parks. But we need more young people, and we need, in order to have a brighter future, we need to get involved with the young professionals and many other stakeholders that maybe are not related to parks. But at the end of the day, every citizen in the world are related to our park, because it's an essential way to live our lives. And if we do not have better parks, we are not going to be able to be, in some ways or in many ways, happy people, you know? So we are in an industry that is related to happiness. And there's no a better industry in the planet than this one, because we help people. And the guy from Singapore yesterday was telling us about this way to save lives through parks, right? And we do that. So that's such an important thing. So I guess the call to action is here. For example, we are here in Turkey to get involved with the industry and to realize that there's a lot of things to do. And urban parks, even if it's an umbrella and has a lot of people that care about parks, we need a lot of help. And we need a lot of people that can take this into their own work. We need leadership, and we need more than ever people that get involved with the organization.
Thank you, Luis. This has been quite impromptu because we realized the four of us were here and we should have this conversation at 10 years. But as Luis says, there's a world community and there are regional communities, and the community that we have right in this room as you've come together. And as we celebrate 10 years, we continue to evolve. And although none of you are prepared for this, I wonder if some of you in the audience might have some points for us in World Urban Parks as to what you would hope to get from an international organisation that would serve you, that would be good for your community or your organisation, your growth or a better place to live. Are there services or opportunities that a relevant World Urban Parks organisation could provide? If you can think of that and share it with me, I will share it, and we will see if we can have, in our last few minutes, take advantage of us all being in the room. Yes.
Thank you. I'm a board member of World Urban Parks, so I have a slight advantage. But I just wanted to say, I always thought that whilst the idea of the global community coming together of professionals and collaborating I think it's key to development, particularly exchange, networking, finding new people to talk to, jumping beyond what your comfort areas and simply exchanging, being here together today. It's also essential that for the international community to actually play locally, to adapt its own rules to the very local conditions. That means accepting differences in language, in culture, in ways of doing things, because otherwise we may come across as a bunch of wise guys that land there to give you a talk and a speech and then have a nice dinner and goodbye, you know? We don't want that. We want to be on the same ground level rules as everybody else, and we are sharing. We're not imposing, we're not telling people what to do, we're not preaching. And as long as we do that, I think the World Urban Parks and the work that was done previously by IFRA will have a long-lasting impact and effect on a sector that, as Luis says, that has lots of stakeholders that are not coming together to actually push us forward and support us in our efforts. So thank you very much for all your work so far.
I'm really happy to hear the words. And it's a vibrant community that we want to be able to have together and grow together. Have other people started to think any tips for us as to what you hope to see from your World Urban Parks organisation that will be relevant to you?
Hi, just a small remark on something that I wanted to see out of this symposium. I mean, the talks have been absolutely incredible and really inspiring, but I would have liked to see maybe some case studies of what World Urban Parks have been doing on the ground. I had a chat with Luis and he mentioned there's been a lot of work in Mexico, and just to know the role of World Urban Parks outside the symposiums and conferences and what's happening on the ground. There have been a few slight mentions, but I would have been, or at least it would be great for you guys to guide me where to find that information, if it's on the website or if there's something with quite a lot of details. I'd be interested in that. Thank you.
Luis, is that something you'd like to respond
Yes,
to quickly?
of course. I have a microphone here. Thanks. Well, first of all, there's two reflections. We have a lot of information in our website. We have an extensive platform with digital library course. Well, we are about to launch some courses, but we have podcasts, webinars, documents, more than 400 documents in different languages inside of our platform. And a lot of information through our internal social media, where you can find all our membership and engage with people from different parts of the world. And the second reflection is that since our industry is pretty young, comparing with other industries in the world, we have a lot of things to do. So the call to action is, if there is no information right now, let's generate information. Let's work together and let's try to put things together, but we need your involvement. Here the call to action is, obviously, as Digby said, what we can do for you, but also what you can do for our industry, because we are in the same collective effort. We are here as a part of the leadership of the organization, but we cannot do this without you. So please approach to us and let's try to find ways in which we can collaborate together. Amazing things can happen, but we need, after all, we need your involvement in many ways. So if the information is not right there and the standard doesn't exist, let's create it and let's try to find a way to work together. Maybe in 3 years or in 5 years, World Urban Parks can say, we ended up with this standard or this metric or this whatever 3 years ago because Sina in this symposium in Istanbul provoked this conversation. Wonderful, and maybe that could be a standard, like could be an industry standard in the next 10 or 20 or 50 years or whatever. Just an invitation, I guess. Thank you.